So, if you were standing in downtown Oslo, Norway, in the late spring of 1995, you couldn't really miss it. The Oslo Plaza Hotel.
It was the tallest building in Northern Europe at that time.
Right. It stands like this massive shard of blue ice against the Nordic sky, a glass monolith. And in 1995, it wasn't just a place to sleep. It was a beacon.
A hub for international business, diplomats, and high-net-worth individuals.
Exactly. It was a place designed for a very specific kind of anonymity that only a luxury fine-art establishment can provide. Yeah. But in late May and early June of that year, one specific room on the 28th floor became the center of a very dark narrative, room 2805.
A room that essentially functioned as a sealed tactical environment.
A woman checked in. She was elegant, composed. She signed the register under the name Jennifer Fairgate. Or, well, maybe it was Fairgate.
The documentation is inconsistent.
Right, the handwriting was ambiguous. 3 days later, she was found dead. A gunshot wound to the forehead, a powerful 9mm Browning pistol in her hand. The door was double-locked from the inside.
Which led the local authorities to a preliminary conclusion.
A suicide. The Oslo police closed the case with what they claimed was 99.9% certainty. But as we open this case file for you today, you will see that tiny fraction of doubt has grown into a massive chasm.
The physical evidence contradicts the official ruling on multiple vectors.
Because over 30 years later, despite exhumations, advanced DNA profiling, and international attention, this woman effectively does not exist.
She possessed no identification, no credit card, no wallet.
Her clothing labels were surgically removed. Her gun had its serial number dissolved by acid. Who was the woman in room 2805? Today, we are going to reconstruct the timeline, analyze the forensic data, and examine the absolute emptiness she left behind.
It is a statistical anomaly for a human being to exist in the modern digitized world without leaving a paper trail.
Even in 1995.
Precisely. We were already in an era of global credit networks, passport controls, and centralized dental records. To die in a luxury hotel in a European capital and remain unidentified for decades suggests deliberate erasure.
Erasure that takes a lot of planning.
The sheer effort required to remain anonymous in death exceeds the capacity of a typical depressive suicide. It requires tradecraft.
Let's go back to her arrival. It is Wednesday, May 34. The time is approximately 10:40 p.m.
Late evening. The lobby would have been sparsely populated.
Right. The Nordic twilight is lingering outside. A woman approaches the front desk. She is pulling a black rolling suitcase. Witnesses describe her as very elegant.
He was approximately 5 feet 2.5 inches tall, weighing 148 pounds.
Short, cropped black hair, blue eyes. She speaks to the receptionist in English, and later other staff hear her speaking German.
Her fluency in both languages was noted as impeccable.
No stumbling, no heavy regional accent. She projects absolute confidence and asks for a room. She fills out the registration card, writing Jennifer Fairgate.
But she misspells her own assumed surname twice as Fergate on the same form.
Which is strange. She claims to be 21 years old and lists a home address in a small Belgian town called Verlaine.
She also lists a male companion.
Lois Fairgate. She says he will be accompanying her. But here is where the narrative hits its first major failure point.
There's a significant breakdown in hotel security protocol during this interaction.
The Oslo Plaza was a premier hotel. Normally, the front desk would insist on a credit card.
Standard procedure required a physical card imprint for incidentals, as well as a valid passport for any foreign national.
But she bypassed all of it. Maybe she claimed her husband had the wallet and was parking the car.
Whatever her method of social engineering, she was given the key card to room 2805 without securing payment or identity.
And Lois Fairgate never appeared.
He was a phantom. No CCTV captured him. No staff interacted with him.
Housekeeping even put an extra comforter in the room for him, but it was found later stashed in the closet completely unused. She went up to the 28th floor entirely alone.
From that moment, our primary tracking mechanism is the VIN card electronic locking system.
Right, the key card logs. They show she enters the room at 10:44 p.m. on May 31st. She stays inside for the night. The next activity is until Thursday morning.
She uses the card at 12:21 a.m. and then again at 8:34 a.m. on June 1st.
She is coming and going briefly. But then we hit this massive void in the data.
The electronic logs record absolutely zero activity for the next 20 to 24 hours.
So she is either sitting in that room without opening the door for a full day and night, or she left the room and the door was propped open, or she just left and didn't come back.
Housekeeping records provide the answer. Staff entered room 2805 on Thursday afternoon to clean. They noted the room was completely empty.
The bed hadn't been slept in,
Yeah.
so she was out. She was wandering around Oslo for almost 24 hours.
This presents a logistical variable. She has no credit card on file and very little physical cash is later recovered.
Where do you go in a foreign city for 24 hours with no ID and barely any money?
It suggests she was meeting someone or she had access to resources that were not brought back to the hotel.
She finally reappears on the morning of Friday, June 2. She uses the key card at 8:50 a.m., then again at 11:03 a.m., and this is when she interacts with the hotel staff again.
She requests a stay extension until Sunday.
And the staff, amazingly, they miss another opportunity. They give her new key cards for the extended stay, but they still don't ask for a passport.
They allow an undocumented guest to accrue a significant high balance bill over multiple days.
It shows how effective her demeanor was. After this, the Do Not Disturb sign goes up on her door, and it stays there.
This marks the beginning of her final isolation period.
But she does try to reach out. On Friday evening, hotel switchboard records showed 2 attempted international calls from her room,
Both calls were routed to Belgium.
which matches the country she wrote on her registration card.
The numbers dialed were directed to the Serang and Grace Holland municipalities, which are adjacent to Verlaine.
But the calls never connected. The numbers she dialed were off by just 1 digit from valid residential lines in that area.
This indicates she possessed genuine geographic knowledge of the region, but either relied on flawed memory or an incorrect cipher for the phone number.
Later that Friday evening, she orders room service, a hot bite beef burger and potato crisps. A staff member brings it up.
This represents the final verified visual contact with the subject alive.
She takes the food, and she pays the worker with a very large cash tip, 50 kroner,
In 1995 currency, that is approximately $8 US.
which would be like handing someone a $17 tip for a burger today. It was unusually generous.
In psychological profiling of suicide, divestment of currency can be a warning sign.
Giving away things you know you won't need anymore.
Correct. However, it is also consistent with an individual operating on an external funding source who has no requirement to budget personal cash.
She eats the food. The autopsy confirms that. Then Saturday arrives, June 3. The hotel management finally wakes up to the fact that they have a problem.
The accounting department noted the lack of a credit card imprint for room 2805.
They start sending electronic messages directly to her television screen. Please contact the front desk.
System logs confirm that an occupant inside the room physically pressed the remote control to acknowledge these messages.
She saw them, once on Friday night and again on Saturday evening. But she didn't call down. She just waited.
The decision was made to dispatch physical security to the 28th floor on Saturday evening.
A security guard takes the elevator up. The hallway is completely empty. He walks up to room 2805. He knocks on the door, and immediately he hears a sound.
A loud, sharp acoustic report. A gunshot.
From inside the room. But here is where the investigation suffers a massive blow. The guard doesn't stay at the door.
His reaction protocol was flawed. He retreated from the scene to locate the head of security.
He leaves the floor. For 15 minutes, the hallway outside that room is totally unobserved. No one is watching the door.
This creates a 15-minute forensic void. If an external actor was present in the room, this provided an egress window.
The head of security finally gets up there 15 minutes later. The door is locked. They open it. The room is dark, lit only by the TV. And on the bed is the woman.
Lying in a supine position. A fatal ballistic wound to the frontal lobe.
And in her right hand, resting on her chest, is the 9mm Browning pistol.
The physical environment initially supported the suicide hypothesis because the door was double-locked from the inside.
Both key cards were in the room. No sign of forced entry. A classic locked room scenario. But let's look at the body and the gun, because this is where the suicide theory starts to fall apart.
The biomechanical positioning of the weapon is highly anomalous.
Her thumb is on the trigger. Her other fingers are wrapped around the grip.
Firing a heavy 9mm pistol directed at one's own forehead using the thumb on the trigger requires significant contortion of the wrist and forearm.
It's an incredibly awkward way to hold a gun.
It suggests either a highly specific mechanical method of self-termination or post-mortem staging of the weapon by a secondary party.
And then there's the gun itself. This isn't a typical civilian weapon.
It is a military-grade 9mm Browning.
When the police examined it, they realized the serial number was gone, not scratched off, dissolved.
Acid etching is a professional counter-forensic technique. It degrades the crystalline structure of the metal to prevent origin tracing.
You don't accidentally dissolve a serial number. This means the gun was sourced from the black market or an intelligence arm.
Furthermore, the ammunition inventory in the room was disproportionate to a suicide event.
They found a black attaché case, a Braun Buffel case. Inside were 25 rounds of 9mm ammo, plus 7 more rounds inside the gun's magazine.
32 rounds of 9mm ammunition indicates anticipation of a sustained tactical engagement, not a single self-inflicted gunshot.
Let's talk about what she was wearing. She is lying there dressed entirely in black. A long blouse, a bra, silk tap pants, stockings, and Italian-made high heels.
The attire is formal, yet incomplete.
Right. There are no trousers, no skirt, no leggings anywhere in the room. She was wearing the top half of an outfit and only underwear on the bottom.
An inventory of the wardrobe yielded a gray coat, a René Lazard blazer, and a sleeveless blouse. No lower body garments were recovered.
Which is completely bizarre. Where did her clothes go? Did she travel to Oslo without pants?
The more pressing forensic issue regarding the clothing is the systematic removal of the manufacturer labels.
Yes, the tags had been cut out of almost every single item she owned. The size tags, the washing instructions snipped away.
Label removal is standard operational tradecraft for intelligence assets. It prevents investigators from tracing the geographical origin of the garments.
Only one label was left, on that René Lazard blazer.
That retention was likely an operational oversight.
On her wrist, she wore a heavy diving watch. A Citizen Aqualand Model CQ 10150.
This is a tactical timepiece commonly utilized by military divers. The batteries were documented as replaced in March 1995.
It's such a stark contrast. The elegant silk underwear and this heavy, functional diving watch, it paints a picture of someone with a dual nature.
The surrounding environment was also subjected to a sterilization process.
The room was totally devoid of personal effects. She had a turquoise-green Travelite bag, a bottle of men's cologne, Ungaro pour l'Homme First, which was nearly empty.
But the absence of standard human artifacts is critical. There was no toothbrush, no hairbrush, no cosmetics.
No keys, no wallet, no passport. She stripped the room of anything that proved she existed.
It is the clinical definition of a clean skin environment. Items were either discarded prior to the event or removed by a secondary operative.
They did find one random item, a USA Today newspaper in a plastic bag. But it was addressed to room 2816 across the hall.
Forensic analysis of the newspaper bag isolated a single, unidentified fingerprint.
It didn't belong to her, and it has never been matched to anyone in any database.
Moving to the ballistics and the physical autopsy, the evidence further destabilizes the primary hypothesis.
Investigators found that 2 shots had been fired, not 1. The first shot went completely through a pillow, through the mattress, and lodged in the concrete floor.
This is commonly referred to as a test shot.
But the sequence is strange. The pillow used for that test shot was then physically turned over and placed under her head.
And then the fatal ballistic event occurred.
But here's the major problem. The recoil and blowback of a 9mm pistol are massive.
Firing a weapon of that caliber at close range results in the dispersion of gunshot residue, or GSR, and high-velocity blood spatter.
Police tested her hands, both for GSR and for blood.
The results were entirely negative.
No residue. No blood on the hand that was supposedly gripping the trigger.
The absence of GSR on the primary firing hand is a severe mechanical contradiction. It strongly implies the weapon was placed in her hand post-mortem.
Which means someone else was in the room. Someone who pulled the trigger, staged the body, locked the door, and slipped out during that 15-minute window when the guard left.
The lock mechanism of the door could theoretically be manipulated from the exterior with specialized tools, though it is difficult.
The autopsy gave us some physical parameters. They estimated her age to be between 21 and 35.
Dental examination revealed high-quality gold and porcelain restorative work.
It was expensive dentistry.
The specific techniques utilized were consistent with advanced practices in the United States, Switzerland, or Germany.
Toxicology tests were run. There was no alcohol in her blood, but the police made a baffling decision.
They failed to conduct a comprehensive toxicology screen for narcotics or sedatives.
They didn't test for drugs at all. We have no idea if she was incapacitated, drugged, or paralyzed before that gun went off.
It is a critical failure in the forensic protocol.
They ran her fingerprints and DNA through Interpol and every available missing persons database. 0 matches.
Despite all these systemic contradictions, the Oslo police maintained their ruling: suicide.
They argued she was depressed, she wanted to die, and she got rid of her ID to spare her family the pain of knowing.
That narrative requires investigators to ignore the missing garments, the acid-etched weapon, the tactical ammunition, and the negative GSR results.
So we have to look at the alternative, espionage
Yeah.
and execution.
Ole Keldiger, a former director of the Norwegian intelligence group known as E14, reviewed the case parameters.
And he didn't see a lonely tourist. He saw an intelligence asset.
Keldiger identified the label removal and the sterile room as textbook evasion tradecraft.
He believed the test shot was actually a sign of a physical struggle? And the missing clothes, maybe she was interrogated?
However, the disposal of an operative in a high-profile hotel via a noisy ballistic event is counterintuitive to standard intelligence protocols, which favor deniability.
Unless the violent, obvious death was the message they wanted to send.
The investigation stalled completely.
In June 1996, exactly 1 year later, she was buried in a pauper's grave at Vestergravlund Cemetery in Oslo. No headstone, no family.
And subsequently, the authorities initiated evidence destruction protocols.
They threw away the clothes, they destroyed the bedspread, they literally auctioned off her jewelry, including that gold ring.
The destruction of physical evidence drastically reduced the potential for future forensic analysis.
It went cold for 20 years. Until 2016, investigative journalists pushed to reopen the file.
Technological advancements in biometric analysis provided new investigative avenues.
They exhumed her body. They took samples from her teeth and her bones. And the new science finally gave us something concrete.
DNA profiling confirmed European descent.
But the real breakthrough was the isotope analysis, specifically strontium.
Strontium isotopes accumulate in dental enamel during childhood development, reflecting the specific mineral composition of the regional groundwater.
It acts like a geographic fingerprint of where you grew up. And the strontium levels in her teeth pointed directly to Germany.
This correlated with the witness statements regarding her unaccented German fluency.
It also matched her wardrobe. Renil Lazard and Travlite are both German brands.
Furthermore, carbon-14 radiometric dating was applied to the dental samples.
She claimed on that registration card to be 21, but the science said otherwise.
The carbon-14 data established an estimated birth year of 1971.
Making her approximately 24 years old at the time of her death. She lied about her name, and she lied about her age.
The profile is now highly specific. A 24-year-old German female possessing premium dental restorations, utilizing counter-surveillance tactics, and in possession of an untraceable military firearm.
Yet, even with this incredibly precise profile, and even after massive global media coverage, nobody's had come forward.
There are no matching missing persons reports matching these parameters in European databases.
No parent looking for their daughter. No sibling looking for their sister.
It implies that her immediate social circle is either complicit, unaware of her true fate, or deceased.
The case officially remains closed as a suicide. But the physical reality of room 2805 tells a different story.
The systematic dismantling of her identity was highly effective.
It's a profound tragedy of erasure. You have a woman in black sitting in a luxury hotel room waiting for a phone call to Belgium that never connects. A woman who painstakingly cut the labels out of her clothing just to ensure that when the end came, she would be nobody.
She achieved total anonymity. She stripped away her history. But the mechanics of her death remain an unresolved tactical puzzle.
It leaves you wondering what kind of life requires such absolute destruction of the self just to leave a room. Thanks for listening.